Welcome to the Hot Lava Podcast. Kevin Acee, Padres beat writer for the Union-Tribune. That's Ryan Finley. He's the sports editor of the Union-Tribune. I'm in Cincinnati, ready for another series where I look at the other team and I go, okay, I get why the Reds have been hot, kind of. But, like, I look at the pitchers the Padres are going to face, and I'm like, if this was the Padres I thought I was covering, this shouldn't be a big deal. But, like, here we are, month to go to the trade deadline. That's what we're looking at now. Ryan, where do you want to start?
What the hell just happened? That's where I want to start. Kevin, in this job, obviously, as much as I'd love to watch every Padre game and every pitch, I can't. We have other things. I walked away from a 4-1 baseball game yesterday, and within 25 minutes, they were losing again. And for what feels like the 30th time this year, I looked at my phone and went, what the hell just happened? So yeah. What just happened? What just happened in Pittsburgh? Is it more the same, or is it new creative ways? Yeah.
It's new creative ways, but that's a part of it, right? Like, right. This is what happens when a team falls apart. And I did not just say that the Padres are falling apart, because you can't say that. What you can say is, like, this might be what's happening, all right? Because I could go back to some games last year in the middle of the summer and say, oh, wow, this doesn't look good. But what I'm telling you is all I can do is chronicle from day to day, and this is kind of what it looks like when a team is falling apart. Tim Hill fields his position really well. He's now made 3 errors in his last 2 innings, and cost himself 5 unearned runs the other day against Washington, an unearned run yesterday. The tying run scores because he makes a throw that he shouldn't have made. That is what happens when a player maybe is knows how important it is and stuff, because Tim Hill is good at fielding his position, and he's terrible right now. Xander Bogaerts early in the game cost Joe Musgrove 11 pitches. I think it was the 2nd inning, okay? And I said at the time, the way things are going with this team, that could be a big deal, because now Joe, with a bullpen that is short at 7th inning guy, who had Nick Martinez pitch the night before, now Joe maybe lost an inning, and Joe, like Joe does, this is what the top guys do. Joe wasn't his best yesterday, and he grinded through 6 innings of 2-run ball, allowed 7 hits. He was kind of all over the place, but that play by Xander where he made a high throw and would have been a double play, that ends up potentially, you don't know, costing the Joe an extra inning, and then Tim Hill has to come in and cover the 7th, and it blows up. But those are the kind of things that happen when a team is bad. I've got more to say about that, but go ahead, Ryan. What else you got?
Kevin, we've been talking all year about how important it is for them to start hitting, because we knew that the pitching wasn't going to continue to be as good as it's been, right? That just like the stats say they should be hitting better, the stats also said pretty sure this pitching wasn't going to continue. And we're starting to see – oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're spot on. So that's what I was just going to build off of that. I thought, like, it very well could come back to haunt them. They didn't take advantage of the time when their starting pitching was at its top and their bullpen was basically at the top of the major leagues for a month. So that – yeah. Now, look, Joe's pitching really well. Blake Snell's pitching really well. If Adam Wainwright comes back healthy, you figure Yu Darvish is going to give you a chance to win most of the time. He's not pitching very well right now, but going to give you a chance to win. So it's not like I'm down. I'm not saying sell on the Padres pitchers, but I think, you've got a really good point.
Yes, absolutely. You meant Michael Wacha there, right? Michael Wacha comes back healthy?
I'm sorry, Michael Wacha. What did I say?
Adam Wainwright. I thought there for a minute.
He's been on my mind a lot. And you got former Cardinals, and I'm feeling really bad for Adam Wainwright right now. That's all. I'm sorry about that. Michael Wacha comes back. And if he's what he was, and continues to pitch at least somewhere close to that, whatever it is, 1.71 ERA over his last 9 starts, then I think their starting pitching is pretty solid. I think that they have bullpen issues, and let's just say that they start hitting. I think the bullpen is a place you start to look at in advance of the trade deadline.
Yeah, if you believe as the trade deadline approaches that you're still in this.
You got another 10 or 15 games before you figure that out.
Sure, and to me, you look at what's so frustrating about this lineup. People I talk to, at least, everybody goes, I don't even know where you would try to get better in terms of 1 through 9. I mean, obviously they need I think they need a DH. I think they need bullpen help. Everybody else, you are sort of riding with till the wheels fall off, I think.
I was just making that point with someone where do you get better? You got the DH is the obvious one. Some bullpen. Maybe you go get a starter. I don't know. It depends on these next 10, 15, 20 games, right? And where you're at, and do you really believe? I mean, I believe they are of the mindset right now that they're going to, turn this around, because why wouldn't they be, right? Like, you don't invest all this. Like, the rest of us can be like, screw this. They suck. The season's over. Well, we didn't invest $246 million in years of time building this roster. So they can't do that, okay? And so I do believe they're still of the mindset. But they also are of the mindset of, you know what? In 2 weeks, we might be thinking differently.
Sure. And again, you've said this from the very beginning, Kevin. There's an escape hatch here if they decide that they're not competing, right? Or that they're not going to compete for a playoff spot. There are pieces they can potentially trade that would ease their financial burden. Though, given that the fact that most of their most expensive players aren't hitting very well, you're certainly you're not going to trade Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr. But
you can't, right? Yes.
Right. I mean, is it too soon to talk about Juan Soto?
Well, you mean now or in 2 weeks? Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, is it too soon?
No, it's not too soon. It's the sooner, the higher the value. It really depends on what do you think. Are you going to punt on? I'm not saying punt on next year, but where are you rebuilding? I think that's a real possibility, because I said it all along, and it's not like just me saying it. Like, I have a quote from Eric Grupner from January about eventually this roster will not be comprised of all guys making $20 million. Okay. So, yes, Juan could be on the market. Blake Snell and Josh Hader. You need to get something. If you're not going to be a contender, you need to get something for Josh Hader and Blake Snell now, because being that you are, up in the payroll stratosphere, your compensation, as in compensatory picks, which is how the Padres did a lot of their business for years, it's not as good. It's basically, I mean, it's really not anything to really even think about if they leave as free agents. So you need to get something for those guys. Again, I really do believe right now they are more in the aggressive mindset of, quote unquote buyers. But they also are, that definitely could change here in 2 weeks, and that's also in their mind.
Which is crazy. Kevin, you semi-famously wrote a couple weeks ago that this was going to be one of the largest month or 5 week or 6 week stretches in Padre history. We're about halfway through, and these returns are not good.
No. And the reason that I say it is for the exact same reason that this is what people are calling the most disappointing season in Padres history so far. Well, that's because it was the most anticipated season in Padres history. There were worse seasons than this.
Oh my God,
there were
yes.
worse seasons than this that were expected to, have your team be a championship contender. So that's why this month and the decisions that will be made as a result of these next couple weeks, I think it pretty straightforward that it's as big as it has ever gotten with this organization.
Sure. Kevin, you just came from from Pittsburgh, where there's not a whole lot to get excited about just in terms of their daily lineup, though they just swept the Padres. And you're coming into Cincinnati, where, man, they're exciting now. They're fun now.
Yeah.
They were awful a year ago, and they're at least exciting now. I don't know if they're good, but they're exciting. What do you expect from the Reds?
They are exciting, and they are good in terms of, like, right now, like, look, they won 12 straight, which is, like, any team can run off 12 straight. You can't, like, bad teams can do it. They then lost 2 at Baltimore, or they lost 1. They lost to Atlanta. Then they lost 2 at Baltimore. And then they came back and won their final 2 at Baltimore. So, like, they won 14 of 17. They are exciting. They're scoring, but it's not like they're scoring like a lot of runs every night. Their pitching isn't great. They're winning 7-6. They're winning 11-10. What are two numbers I just threw out there? Those are numbers where the margin was 1. In that 12-game win streak, they had 6 one-run victories. That's one more than the Padres have this year. I mean, that blew my mind. But that was what the Padres did for a time last year. Once the Padres went on their little run, and I forget when it was late. It was very late. August, maybe mid-August, mid to late September or something. They won like 10 one-run games in a row. Not like 10 games in a row that were decided by one run, but of the games decided by one run in that month-long span, the Padres were undefeated. And not every good team does that. But, the other day I looked back at the 2021 Braves. The 2021 Braves, who got 112 games in, were at 500 for the final time, 110 games in, I believe, and they were under 500, 109 games in. And they had a profile very similar to the Padres in terms of one runs, in terms of not coming back. Like, a lot of times a scuffling team just can't find a way to win those games. And the Reds are feeling it right now.
Yeah, yes, they are. Elly De La Cruz has played 20 big league games, Kevin. He's hitting 300 with 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. Extrapolate those out, and he's a stud. Cruz, Tatis, I think those are 2 very interesting young players to square off this week. Before we go, Kevin, we've got just a couple minutes left because I know you've got to get to the ballpark. Your Padres Daily newsletter lead today was about Ha-Seong Kim. And I think lost in the profound disappointment of this season is the fact that Ha-Seong Kim is the Padres MVP. He's hitting 258, 755 slug. He barreled up a ball yesterday that was 97.3 miles an hour. It was for a guy who has not, for a guy who has not hit velocity at all. He hit a 97 mile an hour fastball into the seats yesterday. What has he meant to this team, both in the clubhouse and on the field?
It's interesting you say the MVP. Like, in no way is that a good thing for the Padres' big picture, no matter how much you love Ha-Seong Kim. It should be Manny Machado or Juan Soto or Fernando Tatis or Xander Bogaerts. That's just fact. But you might be right that it is, even if his numbers aren't as good. Like, he's had clutch hits. He's played incredible defense at 3 different positions. That's what he's meant to them. And yes, you talk to people about Ha-Seong Kim, and they talk about him being a ball player, and obviously there's the defense, but watch how he changes during an at bat, because he knows what his capabilities are, and that's a mark of a good ball player. He knows what the count is, what the pitcher is trying to do to him, and now, with experience and with the smarts that he has and the work that he does, now he is catching up to 97 mile an hour fastballs more regularly, far more regularly, as a matter of fact. And he is finding his power stroke. He is getting on base enough to run, and he's an all around ball player. Again, they should have guys that are better and better than him, but he is a winning ball player.
6 years ago, I think he'd be the Padres representative at the All-Star game.
I could make the argument that he should be now. Like, Josh Hader has 18 saves. Juan Soto should go. Fernando Tatis Jr. is an exciting player. He needs to kind of have a good weekend, maybe. I don't know. But I can make the argument it's Ha-Seong.
Sure. Can I read you a tweet from our Tom Krasovic that I just thought was interesting with regard to Ha-Seong Kim? Ha-Seong Kim leads all MLB players in defensive runs saved per the Fielding Bible. He's third among NL position players in WAR B, 3.6, and first in defensive WAR B, 1.8. It's a great line. My old eyes see a very good competitor. And I think that's true. I mean, all these metrics obviously are very kind to Ha-Seong Kim and illustrate his importance to this team. But you're right. He grinds, he adjusts, he plays his butt off. I mean, he hustles. I know hustle is arbitrary and not a sign of a good player, but fans love watching guys who hustle, and man, does he hustle.
You know what? Hustle and not making the improvements that he's making, you're right. Okay, great. That's super. Travis Jankowski hustled. He's one of the finest human beings I've ever known. But, whatever. Yes, a hustler and a performer, man, absolutely. Hustle can be highly overrated as long as a guy's got a 900 OPS.
Do you remember Eric? Oh, this was before your time. Eric Owens' dirty T-shirt giveaway night. Padres had a guy named Eric Owens who slid head first into everything. And they gave away.
I do not remember the T-shirt night, but I remember Eric Owens. Yes.
So when I always think Eric Owens when we talk about hustle, which is hustle without numbers is eyewash. Hustle with numbers, like what we're seeing from Ha-Seong Kim, is important.
And because it makes him the player he is too, right? Like in the same way that to a certain extent, the lack of hustle is what makes Manny Machado, not the current Manny Machado, but the career-long Manny Machado. And everybody's their own person, and that's that this is Ha-Seong, and I think it's awesome, and I think it's fantastic how much people love him because I think he deserves every bit of that, and I thank him that he gave me the opportunity to be positive in the midst of this 5-game losing streak and this season that appears to be falling apart. I understand there's a lot of you out there saying falling apart. It's fallen apart. Well, all right, let's just watch it unfold, or else turn your TV sets off and unsubscribe, and we'll see you next year. But there are 81 games left.
Exactly. We will have a very long Q&A with Ha-Seong Kim posted. Well, probably by the time you're listening to this,
really
it will
good
be.
Too.
Yeah, it's really good about him and Leo Bai, which is very cool there. It's his longtime translator. Kevin, you've got a ball game to get to. Before we go, any truth to the fact that they moved the start time up because Taylor Swift's got a concert tonight?
Let me tell you something. It's unbelievable what is happening right now in downtown Cincinnati. It is 80% of the people on the street are a mom or a tween girl. It is unbelievable. Like it's moms and tween girls, and the rest of us walking around looking at each other like, what is happening here? What did we just walk into a Disney special? It's crazy.
That's fantastic. All right, Kevin. That'll do it for this episode of the Hot Lava Podcast. For Kevin Acee, I'm Ryan Finley. Kevin, hopefully we will talk under maybe better circumstances before the Padres July 4th series against the Angels. Lots to talk about there for sure. But first, a series with the Reds. And Kevin, enjoy your time with the Swifties. I know you're a fan, so that's okay. And we will talk soon.